Babbel. Go to Babbel.com and start learning a new language today. That's BABBEL.com.
In celebration of the 10th anniversary, Disney's Frozen is coming to podcasting with a brand new story. The Frozen podcast features Anna.
I want to know about that.
Elsa.
Makes perfect sense to me.
Olaf.
I don't get it.
And Kristoff.
Are we going on another adventure?
Oh, no.
Of course. Experience Disney Frozen Forces of Nature, available now on your favorite podcast app.
Get deals on what you need during MVP's bonus days at Lowe's. Right now, save $20 on select 5-gallon ceiling paint or primer by HGTV Home by Sherwin-Williams. Plus, get 15% off and earn 3 times bonus points when you buy 4 or more Purdy products. Because Lowe's knows savings. Lowe's knows pros. Selection varies by location while supplies last. Discount taken at time of purchase. See sales associate for details. Bonus points calculated before taxes and fees after applicable discounts if any. Valid 1/15 through 1/26. Subject to change.
All right, everybody, welcome in. It's the Kinner and Kev Show live here on a Tuesday. I'm Justin Kinner. He's Kev Nash. Mr. Kev Nash, welcome.
What up, though?
All right, it's a beautiful day out. I got a little sun when I walked into my car earlier, so there's that. But nonetheless, at least we didn't get all the ice that was anticipated. So
yeah.
I like when the weather people are wrong.
Yeah, it's icy up in my hometown of Cleveland. I was talking to my mom today, and she was like, yeah, it's super icy outside. I was like, what are you doing outside? Like, go back in the house.
That's where I'm heading tomorrow. No show tomorrow, but have to go to Cincinnati tomorrow with the Reds. And then after I'm done at the ballpark, I got to get in the car and drive all the way to Cleveland. So I'll be in Cleveland for the next 2 days. So weather ain't good over there?
Nah.
It's weird. Cleveland's usually really nice this time of year.
Quick question. When they schedule the road trips for Wright State basketball, why wouldn't they schedule Youngstown State and Cleveland State like the same weekend?
They don't. The league does the scheduling.
The
league, they used to have travel partners, and so like Cleveland State, Youngstown would be considered a travel partner. IUPUI, Fort Wayne would be a travel partner.
The Wisconsin schools.
But then, actually, I think I lied. Cleveland was paired up with someone else for a bit. I think because Milwaukee, Green Bay go together, and then I think when Robert Morris got out of the Pittsburgh trip. Technically, Youngstown is closer to Pittsburgh than Cleveland is. So those two. So anyways, there was travel partners, but there's 11 teams in the league since UIC left. That's what it was.
Okay.
They used to be. Yeah, it would be. It doesn't matter at this point, but yeah.
You're going to Cleveland.
Going to Cleveland.
Gonna make a pit stop in Berea. Say what's up with Coach Stefanski and the new offensive staff.
No, I'm just heading straight to the hotel. But speaking of new offensive staff, we can talk a little Bengals in a moment. They lost their offensive coordinator. I don't see why that's a big deal, but we'll talk about that in a moment. Just like when the Browns lost theirs, I didn't think that was a big deal. And there's a reason why. I'm not trolling. Bengals fans are waiting for me to pounce on something. I'm like, no, we'll get to it. I want to open up a little news, not news. We'll get into we'll dive more into this Bengals conversation, losing their offensive coordinator and what that means moving forward. So add that to the list of a lot of things that the Bengals have to kind of check off their list. Talk a little association coming up. The Cavs stay hot.
8 in a row. 8 in a row.
I saw Tristan Thompson failed a little test today.
Lots of Cavs news in the association catch-up.
Technically, he was positive. I mean, I don't know. Usually every time, never mind. It was going to be a Chloe joke. It was going to be a Chloe joke, but I decided to stop. Nonetheless. But all right, little news, not news. Now, as we sit here just a little after the show has started today, I've seen no finalization as far as anything between the Chargers and Jim Harbaugh.
Right.
News, not news. After 2 interviews, and I hate this, by the way, these social media, breaking news. They're close to a deal. How about you don't break any news until a deal is done? So later on in this show,
got to be ahead of it, man.
Yeah, later on in the show, if we're talking about this and we haven't come across the breaking news, that is why I haven't seen anything. But news, not news, Kev, that the breaking news is that they are close to getting a deal done.
As far as that's not news, but eventually when it happens, it will be huge news. It'll be huge news for the NFL. It'll be huge news for the college football world. I mean, with Coach Saban retiring, he is the biggest personality in college football. So losing him would, be a blow, obviously, to our biggest rival, Michigan. That would be a huge blow to them. And then their search will be a very short search because Coach Moore will obviously be their next head coach if Harbaugh decides to go to the NFL. I saw that he's going to bring the defensive coordinator from Michigan with him if he takes this job, along with his son, to be a part of the staff on the Chargers as well.
Yeah, and I think that those two are tied in. The reports that have come out, those two that have sanctions, or if the NCAA came down, Harbaugh would be the one, and then the assistant coach he's bringing with them would be right there at the front, and then the son, I think, was involved in one of the reports. So
keep it in the family.
Just get it, get out while the getting's good.
Yeah, you should. Smart man. Get your chip and run.
Nonetheless, but I mean, I guess it's kind of news. I mean, we've been talking about it forever. It's kind of like the people at Christmas. I told you, I was like, I don't like when my family says, "Hey, what do you want for Christmas?" I'm like, just surprise me. You know me, right? Like, just get me some. Like, I want to tell you. Then I got to pretend like I'm surprised that you got it for me. Don't go through the whole little charade of wrapping it. Just, hey, I got you this for Christmas, right?
In a plastic bag.
That's what we're doing here. Like, there's only a handful of teams that need a coach, and there's only less than that actually makes sense for Harbaugh. So unless a team fires their head coach out of nowhere and names him head coach, that to me is breaking news. If he goes to the Chargers, where there's Justin freaking Herbert, that ain't breaking news. And the West Coast, that ain't breaking.
It's more like finally news.
Yes, it's like, all right, move on from there. But nonetheless, it is what it is. But all right, how about this? You're going to talk more of the association coming up here around the corner, but Milwaukee Bucks have moved on from their head coach, and then this is where it gets more interesting. The guy that they are really looking into potentially replacing him, Mr. Doc Rivers.
Lord. I was having this conversation. This is news, by the way.
News, not news, by the way. News, not news.
News, obviously, it's news. I was having this conversation with my brother and a couple of other buddies. All these rumors about LeBron James and the Cavs and Donovan Mitchell and LeBron James and Trae Young with the Atlanta Hawks. And my one buddy was like, I'll take him back for Donovan Mitchell. I was like, we just can't let go. We just cannot let go, man. We just got to have that old thing back. And I made the comment. I was like, man, and people wonder why most of our politicians are 75 years old, because we just can't let go. We just can't let go. We can't move on to the future. As far as them letting Coach Griffin go, I mean, the reports are that Giannis lost faith in him. When your best player and potentially the best player in the league loses faith in you as a coach, you're done for. There was reports about physical altercation that took place between Coach Griffin and Bobby Portis during their in-season tournament game versus the Pacers at halftime. So once you get the leaders of the team losing faith in you, obviously you're going to lose a team. And I mean, shoot, they're sitting at 30-13 right now. But when your best guys say or feel like the head coach isn't the guy, then it's time to move on, especially in the NBA.
I mean, that's a heck of a job, too, that's open. I mean, you have Dame Time, you have Giannis Antetokounmpo, two of the best players in the league, of course, and Doc, come on in, I guess. And we don't know that it's going to be him, nonetheless, but that'll be the third head coach in as many years, right? So we'll see what ends up happening there. But again, they're not the worst situation. You at least have the players to have a coach come in and coach, whatever that means in the NBA today. But nonetheless, you'll like this. Next up,
will I?
News, not news. I went to this concert the other day. The gentleman's name was whatever. But so Peter King did a radio hit on 93.7 The Fan over in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
And of course, they're talking about the quarterback situation in Pittsburgh. And Peter King had this to say regarding Mike Tomlin and the direction that they go in at quarterback. Peter King says, I would not rule out Russell Wilson in Pittsburgh. I think if Mike Tomlin had his way, he would want a veteran quarterback. News or not news?
It's news because obviously Peter King is super tapped in. Peter King isn't going to say he's not going to say anything that he hasn't heard. So I'm sure that he's heard this. Coach Tomlin really doesn't talk. Like, he doesn't talk directly. He talks around stuff. He answers questions. Like his end of the season press conference, he basically stood up there for an hour, answered every question. That's a very rare thing for him to do. And I believe that this has some traction. Now, speaking as a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, I am 1,000,000% against that move. I say roll in there with Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph and draft somebody maybe in the second round and make the best man win. If Russell Wilson flamed out with the team that he won the Super Bowl with and helped get back to another Super Bowl, then flamed out with the second team that with a coach that's supposed to be a quarterback guru, what do you think is going to happen on his third team? So I'm against it. I'm 1,000,000% against bringing in Russell Wilson to be a player on the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I'm against it. This is news, by the way, because I threw this out a while back of the teams that I'm afraid of where he would end up. This is news, and I'm against it because I don't really want to see, don't really like to see them get Russell Wilson, to be honest, because he actually played well for Denver. They didn't talk about that this season because they weren't winning games, and of course, it was all about the head coach and everything else. My thing is this. I think the Steelers at some point have to look at that defense and say, we've had these same core guys for quite some time, and Watt's, getting banged up every year. He's getting older. Like we don't have time to draft a quarterback, go another year with Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph, let him go through a rookie season, and then put this is the big year in year 2. Then that's 2 years removed from now. I think that they are kind of, I don't want to say desperately in a win now mode, but I think that their roster is set to win now. I just think it's weird if they go that route, they need to blow it up and move on from guys, which that's not what they do. But what you suggested is based on what they're going to most likely do, which again, more power to them.
If I'm going to do a free agent quarterback, it's not going to be Russell Wilson. If it's anybody out there, if it's 2 dudes out there that I would say, fine, okay, that's cool. You're going to, and also you're not going to get Russell Wilson for free. Like he's not going to come like on a prove it deal. He's not going to come for pennies on the dollar. He's going to want to get paid. That he's made that abundantly clear. So you're going to have to pay him. And I think that's also a silly move. If I'm going to have to pay for somebody, I'd rather pay for Kirk Cousins. I would rather pay for Baker Mayfield before I would pay anything for Russell Wilson. Like those 2 quarterbacks are far better than Russell Wilson at this juncture of his career.
I don't think they would have to pay him a lot. I don't think he has any leverage because until this job, me and you went through everything, it was all backups or just retire, right? Mm-hmm. But I do think if and we don't know the market right now, that's the case. The market might heat up a little bit. So if that's the case and other teams are interested in him, maybe he starts asking for a little bit more. But I just don't think the market would be. I mean, what's too much? What's a lot of money? I think 30 mil is fine.
Anything over 20.
Trust me, 20 is about right. But I think that 30 is that happy medium.
If I'm going to spend 30 mil a year on a quarterback, I would spend it on Baker Mayfield. I would give Baker Mayfield 30, 35 before I would give it to Russell Wilson. He's obviously much younger. He's a better player than him right now. Baker Mayfield plays on schedule. Everything that Russell does is off schedule. It's broken plays. And when he tried to play in the structure of the offense, it wasn't good last year. Like we can look at the stats, and the stats will tell you like, oh man, he threw X amount of touchdowns, only turned it over this many times. But what the stats won't tell you is they had the most delay of game penalties in the NFL when he was the starting quarterback. That means he's not getting the information. He's not regurgitating it in the huddle. Like we need to get in and get out the huddle, check the play clock, make our adjustments at the line of scrimmage, hot route this, ball that, mumbo jumbo, delta, blah, 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 all that mumbo jumbo that the quarterbacks do that we don't know. They're getting delay of game penalties because he can't get in and out the huddle. I am so straight.
Kinner and Kev, 1410 ESPN Radio. Hey, I'm fine. I don't want you to get a good quarterback. And I don't think Russell's elite, but I think he's better than what you guys have. But we'll see. Kenny Pickett, we didn't really get to see him minus Canada for that final stretch. So we'll see what ends up happening. News or not news, we talked a lot about the exclusive streaming game, right, in the playoffs on Peacock, and people lost their mind. But I said, look, we can get mad all you want. That's the future. That's what this is going to become. Same thing with the digital entry tickets to games and stuff. Oh, this is ridiculous. Then you just stop complaining. They're not going to say, okay, you guys win. We'll just go back to hard tickets. No, it's happened. Netflix. Mm-hmm. This is a big deal. I grew up a wrestling fan. I grew up a wrestling fan, if you will. WWE Monday Night Raw. I was just announced that starting in January of 2025, Monday Night Raw, assuming they keep it on Mondays, will be exclusively aired on Netflix. There was a bidding war between multiple like networks, like TV networks. I mean, USA wanted to keep them there, but not for the price that W. And then out of nowhere, there was no reports of Netflix being in the game at all. And then out of nowhere, they signed not just a couple-year deal, a 5-year. It's a decade-long deal from 25 to 35, and I think it's like a $5 billion deal.
Huge news.
Huge.
I'm not
Huge
a wrestling
number.
guy, but this is huge news, and this speaks more to why Netflix is number one. You know how many streaming services are out there? You got your Hulus, you got your Paramount Pluses, you got a whole bunch of streaming services out there. You got your Amazon Prime. Netflix is number one because they make deals like this. They create content that people want to see. Now, Amazon Prime is up there because they have Thursday Night Football, and we just love football. Most of that football on Thursday is terrible, but we watch it nonetheless. But these are power moves that Netflix makes. They have good content. They have good old content that's on their platform. When you go to some of these other platforms, like they're bringing up movies like you never heard of. Like, it's like, why would I want to watch that? And why is it on your platform? You get Oscar-winning movies. You mean what's that new movie that just came out? You talked about it. The movie that
Julia Roberts.
Yeah, Julia Roberts and Mahershala Ali.
But yeah, about basically the apocalypse.
Yeah. You know how many numbers streaming wise that did? Crazy numbers. I mean, Stranger Things season 5 is about to come out. So like, this is why Netflix is number one, because they make smart business decisions. And I mean, look, I may not be a wrestling fan, but there's millions and millions and millions of other people that are. And they're going to watch. You're going to be tuned in. Ben's going to be tuned in. Big Kev's going to be tuned in. I might even tune in. I might check it out. So Netflix, it's got to be good, right?
Faith is a big fan of the Four Horsemen, so she got Ric Flair right today. So
named all one of them.
All one of them. But A for effort, nonetheless. All right, it's the Kinner and Kev Show. Think about this during the break. News or not news? The Cincinnati Bengals, they lost their offensive coordinator, and Callahan, who now is the head coach of the Tennessee Titans. News or not news? Big deal, not big deal at all. Bengals fans in the chat section on the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page, on ESPN Dayton's YouTube channel, or if you want to text into the show, 518-1410, 518-1410. That's the same number to call in, by the way. Bengals fans, I want to have a discussion about this. News or not news, Callahan out as offensive coordinator for the Cincinnati Bengals, now a head coach for the Tennessee Titans. News, not news. We'll talk about that when we come back.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
Rain and fog in the forecast for tonight, an overnight low of 40. Rain, patchy fog, 51 Wednesday. Thursday, more rain and fog, and 56. I'm Rick Schmepp for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Everybody knows that Roosters is a fun, casual joint with their award-winning waitstaff, great food, fun, and laughter. It's a quick stop on the way home to sit back and unwind. It's a front row seat to the big game. Roosters is where you, your family, and friends can order pizzas, sandwiches, salads, and more. And the home of award-winning wings that are fresh, never frozen, and so big you won't believe it. It's your family's other dinner table. Roosters, a fun, casual joint, and proud sponsor of Ohio State Athletics.
Hey, let me tell you about the advantages of driving with my friends at Cordell Transportation. First of all, for the new year, they're offering brand new equipment to drive. They purchased new equipment, and not a lot of people could say that, but they've got it, and they're ready to roll with you. Cordell Transportation is offering an incredible $5,000 sign-on bonus paid over 18 months. If you're an experienced Class A CDL driver looking for excellent benefits, home daily dedicated lanes, no-touch freights, then apply today online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Veterans, were you exposed to harmful burn pit smoke while serving overseas? The Department of Veterans Affairs has recognized and is providing benefits to veterans who suffer with asthma, rhinitis, and sinusitis as a result of burn pit exposure. If you served in the Southwest Asia Theater of Operations or Afghanistan, Uzbekistan, Syria, or Djibouti, and suffer from any respiratory illnesses that you believe is a result of exposure to burn pits, contact the Montgomery County Veterans Service Commission at 937-225-4801.
The spotted lanternfly is an invasive plant hopper native to Eastern Asia. Today, it's found in 14 states, including Ohio. The beautifully colored insects bring stress to the host plant, often contributing to its decline. Juvenile spotted lanternflies, known as nymphs, and adults prefer to feed on the invasive tree of heaven, but also feed on a wide range of crops, plants, and trees. If you suspect a spotted lanternfly infestation, contact an ISA-certified arborist near you. To learn more, visit trees4ohio.org. That's trees4ohio.org.
Questions about youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help. PCA, a national nonprofit organization, develops better athletes and better people through youth and high school sports. Info at positivecoach.org.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to hims.com/joy. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the name brands at up to 95% off. That's right, get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but for 95% less. It's the same medication, still prescribed by a licensed medical provider, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit. HIMS.com/JOY.
Hey everybody, it's Stephen A. Smith, and everyone knows my feelings on Cowboys fans. But really, Justin Kinner, you're a Cowboys fan and a Browns fan? Good Lord have mercy. I don't know what the hell to do with y'all. I really don't.
It's the Justin Kinner Show with Kev Nash. Weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, and we are back. It's the Kinner and Kev Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio 1410 Wing AM. Doing a lot of adulting stuff, Kev, by the way. I got like a week. So excited as an adult. Can't wait to get home to cook food in our new oven.
Oh, look at you.
Yeah.
Look at you.
Yeah. It's all I can look forward to in life.
Gas or electric?
Electric.
Smart man. I got a phobia about gas stoves. Terrified.
We have a gas fireplace that scares the hell out of me. The flame's always lit.
Yeah, man. I'm scared. Like, what are those movies? Final Destination. Scared one day I'll be cooking and the wind to blow and it'll blow out the light and it's just be nothing but gas on and I'm just die.
You just knocked your
I know.
Yeah,
I can't
okay.
hear
Very.
I said that as soon as I
was gonna say, I was like
ironic.
All right, so Kinner and Kev Show here on 1410 ESPN Radio, 518-1410. Let me see. I haven't checked the text line today. I'll pull that up coming up here in a second. But 518-1410, 518-1410. We'll get to your calls in a moment. But we open up the show with a little news or not news. WWE Monday Night Raw exclusively on Netflix starting in 2025. I don't even think I commented on that because I got distracted by some of the people in the chat section. But the bottom line is that's a huge deal because I think that's where a lot of this stuff is trending. And good for Netflix for being like, because that's a $5 billion deal for 10 years.
They got it.
No,
you seen the prices of Netflix lately? they keep going up $2 every month.
And they had to do that because, Peacock has a lot of exclusive stuff that's theirs, but also with a lot of the TV networks too. So they get like your network-based shows like your Law and Orders and all that type of stuff, right? Netflix is doing their own movies, but they needed something else to give them that. Peacock does, they do the game with the NFL and everything else. YouTube TV has the NFL network, or not the network, but the pass, right? The league pass.
Yep.
So they had to do something. I don't blame them for doing this. Netflix was rumored to be in for the NBA for a bit.
Yeah.
Where they were going to have just like was a Tuesday night game. They were going to have just one game, one night a week. They were trying to get in on that, and they still might be. But they could just be using this as a way to kind of test how it's all going to work moving forward. So.
Yeah, live sports is where it's at on some of these streaming platforms. Because they got to have ads to sell. Now Netflix has an ad-based subscription as well. So like that generates more revenue for them. So you have, live sporting events, they have to take commercial breaks so you can generate more money.
And I don't know how when Monday Night Raw goes to break or commercial, I mean, I'm sure that they're selling those. I'm sure WWE gets to sell some of those too, but I'm just going to be following how that, because I do think that that's like the future. I mean, look, Amazon coming in, that was the other thing too. Amazon getting on the mix. They bought, they got partial rights to the Bally Sports, the regional sports networks. So I believe that's where we're going to watch the Reds and Guardians games this year is on Amazon. So look, that's why I said about when people were making a big deal about the wild card game, and I mean, wait till they find out that one of those games is Peacock exclusive. You should get excited about those games. You better get used to just watching games there, because that's how it's going to be moving forward as far as that goes. Heck, speaking of WWE, that's how, I mean, WrestleMania, all that stuff, those used to be like pay-per-views that would be anywhere between $80 to $100 a pay-per-view per box. Now you just pay the per month fee for Peacock and you get to watch all of those as a part of that $10. So, you end up spending about a little bit more, but either way, it all works out. That's where it's all headed nonetheless. The Rock is actually a part of the ownership now too, or he's part of the board of directors. So big day for old WWE, WrestleMania season.
Finally got copyright of his name.
Yeah. So
imagine
it's always a good thing to own your name.
Yeah.
Okay. Brian Callahan, offensive coordinator, Cincinnati Bengals, no more.
He gone.
And I saw so much made about this on social media last night. Oh no, this is such a big deal. By the way, I've heard nothing but good things about Callahan. My thing is, I don't know, how do you, like, what's the most important thing regarding being an offensive coordinator, Kev?
Well, it depends on which type of offensive coordinator you are. You have your play calling offensive coordinators, and then you have your coordinators that coordinate the game plan. Especially you look at the Cleveland Browns and the Cincinnati Bengals, where the head coach is the play caller, but the head coach still has to do head coach stuff. So they leave it up to the OC to game plan, film watch, implement game plan with the quarterbacks and the wide receivers and stuff like that. They're like the delegation down to the running backs coach and the wide receivers coach. So like they are a direct connection with the play caller when there's the head coach. So yeah, I think the most important part is coming up with the game plan.
The game plan. But what happens to me, I think a meaningless offensive coordinator, or maybe that shouldn't say it that way, because again, I think I've heard nothing but I think a less impactful OC is a guy that doesn't even call the plays. Like, I mean, I feel like you're doing a lot of your strategizing during the week, but you're implementing the plays, the design of what the head coaches do. So Zach Taylor, everyone who gets mad at Zach Taylor and rips Zach Taylor, how could you be in love with Callahan, but rip Zach Taylor? We want Callahan to call the plays. How do you know? Well, Taylor's doing a good job. You mean the guy that was the head coach, the play caller of the offense that got to a Super Bowl, back-to-back AFC. You can't do all that with bad play calling. You can't do all that with bad coaches. So I guess I just don't think this is a big deal unless he was the one calling the plays, and this is what hurt Eric Bieniemy. It was, and people did this. Andy Reid, he's the genius behind it all, not Eric Bieniemy, but we don't do that with Zach Taylor. We don't do that with Kevin Stefanski's. The Browns lost their OC, or just basically fired their OC. And everyone was like, "Oh, that's not a good thing." I'm like, but it's not a bad thing. If that guy was the one making the play calls, if he was responsible for it, I would be more concerned. I just don't think the Bengals losing Callahan is as big a deal as what I feel like people on social media are making it, for that very reason. Zach Taylor's still calling the plays. And for those of you who have a problem with that, I still can't wrap my head around that. Could he be better? Yes. I don't think he's a top 5 coach in the NFL, but he's not outside the top 10. And there's not a lot of coaches who consistently coach their team to the playoffs and AFC championship games and all that when they have their star quarterback. So yeah, I just don't think it's that big a deal, to be honest with you.
It's not a big deal. It's a deal, but it's not the end of the world. I mean, this is not the 1980s where an assistant coach stays an assistant coach forever. Like, these people have aspirations to be head coaches themselves, and he wasn't ever going to be the full-time play caller being under the situation with the Cincinnati Bengals. He saw an opportunity to become not only a head coach, I'm pretty sure he's probably going to call plays for the Titans as well. There was stuff about like he called plays during the preseason and got reps that way and things of that nature. But the thing is, like, this is how it works. You be a OC, you be a quarterback coach, you take a step up, and then when the opportunity presents itself to be a head coach, you take it. I'm sure there's somebody in the wings. Maybe the quarterback coach is going to be the next offensive coordinator for the Cincinnati Bengals, or maybe the quarterback coach is going to be the OC with the Tennessee Titans. They'll find another offensive coordinator, and it's up to Coach Taylor to groom said offensive coordinator into his likeness, because he's going to have him do the things that he likes. Hey, man, I need you to break down the film this way. These are things that I like to do with the game plan. You see the talent we have on the team. Shouldn't be that hard.
Yeah, and so Dan Pitcher, I think, is the name. So Dan Pitcher is the quarterback's coach. He's the in-house favorite to get that. However, Dan Pitcher has a couple OC interviews this week with some teams. Seattle, I believe, is one of them, and so on and so on. And everyone's, I see the media in Cincinnati and everything else. Oh no, he's going to get it. He's going to get it. Hold on. What you just talked about. If I have a choice between being an OC for a team that's going to let me call the plays and put my stamp on something, or stay in Cincinnati, and albeit, yes, I have Joe Burrow, but we're going to lose Tyler Boyd. We might have T. Higgins for one more year. I don't want to be, I'll be the scapegoat when things start to decline. I mean, look at the Chiefs. They don't I actually think Bieniemy getting out at that time was smart, because the Chiefs offense is going to continue to decline, although it is a game away from getting back to another Super Bowl. But you know what I mean, Kev? And it wouldn't be the OC's fault. It's just the fact that, you're not as talented, you're not as loaded, because you keep losing pieces year after year after year. So I think that I don't think Cincinnati being an OC there is that big a deal. And I think if Pitcher gets an offer somewhere else where he gets to call the plays, I think that's more endearing to him than just having responsibilities during the week and helping come up with the game plan and that type of stuff. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying, to say that he's a lock, I don't think you could say that, because there might be better opportunities where he can be the guy as opposed to just standing on the sideline on game days.
Well, we always talk about leverage. Maybe he can use that as leverage with the situation with the Cincinnati Bengals and Coach Taylor. Hey, I want more input into the game plan. I want to implement these things. I want to have more of a say-so in play calling. There isn't a situation where, I hope there isn't a situation in the NFL where whoever the play caller isn't listening to anybody. They're the only one. I'm the gonna see it, and nobody's gonna be in my ear. Hey man, hey coach, they just put in the backup corner. I don't care. We're running a draw. You know what I'm saying? I pray to goodness that there's no coach out there that blind to accepting help. My question for you as a Cleveland Browns fan, are you scared that he's gonna call his dad and take his dad with him to Tennessee?
That's already the talk. So he's been hired, and it sounds like the plan is to bring him over there. And look, that stinks, because that's been the identity of, if you want to talk about the run game. But yeah, you have Nick Chubb. Your identity is him, the superstar player. But the identity of Nick Chubb being able to be Nick Chubb is because of that offensive line, as far as that's concerned. But I think that regardless of Callahan being there or not, even when the Browns were really bad, they've always had good offensive linemen. And so I'm not saying it's not a big deal. Oh my gosh, it absolutely is. But again, the Browns, although many people want to mock them, they're still in a situation where I think people want to go coach there. They want to go play there right now. I mean, it's a small window, Kevin. They could have a bad year next year, and then they're back to being viewed as the same old Browns. But for right now, I think if there was a time to lose a big name coach like that, now's the time to do it, because you still have a brand that I think people want to come to and use to keep that success going. So we'll see. But also, I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be an offensive line coach aficionado. I'm not going to pretend to be a QB coach aficionado. You think Dan Pitcher is the best? It has to be him, because look what he did with Joe Burrow. I don't know. We could say that he did that with Joe Burrow, but you guys want to take credit away from Joe Burrow and just assume he wouldn't be Joe Burrow unless Dan Pitcher was there. I don't know. I just feel like when we get to these conversations, a lot of listeners, including us, we pretend to be aficionados with assistant coaches that we have no clue what their day-to-day responsibility is. But yeah, just from the bottom line standpoint, yes, I do think that would be a big deal. So I think Callahan leaving the Bengals to become the head coach of the Titans, it impacts the Browns way more than it impacts the Cincinnati Bengals from that standpoint of taking the best offensive line coach in football, or second best, whatever you want to say with the Niners, what they do. But yeah,
if I was a Bengals fan, I would be more talking about continuity. Hey man, we got a good thing rolling. He's already in the building. He knows the stuff. We don't have to teach anybody how we do things. We can just basically plug and play. That would be my whole thing if I was a Cincinnati Bengals fan, talking about keeping the quarterback coach to be the OC.
Yep, and continuity has been something that Zach Taylor, it's rare. So the Bengals are finally having to replace coaches. They haven't had to do that in a few years. That's rare in today's NFL. Heck, the Browns, I didn't think that they were going to make any moves. I mean, they move on from their running backs coach. What did he do wrong? Dang it. If it wasn't for you, he would have not have got hurt in week 2 against the Steelers. That doesn't make any sense. But they moved up from the running backs coach. I do like Staley, by the way. So I think that's it. He has he has one of those paths that could potentially move up the ranks a little bit as far as that's concerned. So keep an eye on him. But yeah, like, moving on from Mitchell, moving on from Pelt. I don't understand that, but I'm not against it either because, again, same thing. Stefanski calls the plays. So there it is as far as that's concerned. Like when the Steelers, when they moved on from Matt Canada, we expected something big because someone new was going to be calling the plays. You would see an immediate impact. If they move on from an OC in the middle of the season, talking about Stefanski or Taylor, you're not going to notice a dang thing because it's still the same guys calling the offense as far as that goes. All right, it's the Kinner and Kev Show right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. So you just said, man, Callahan, he goes to Tennessee. He's going to take his dad with him, but there's a star player on the Bengals that many people are speculating now. This might be where this particular superstar player could end up playing in the near future, following Callahan to Tennessee. We'll talk about that when we come back, and I'll just throw out the name. I think y'all know who it is. It's Mr. T. Higgins. We'll find out, all of a sudden, the Bengals front office, are they interested in making other teams better? We'll find out. But yes, a lot of people have now pointed at the Titans as being a potential favorite landing spot for T. Higgins, if that is the case, due to his relationship with Callahan. We'll talk about that when we come back. It's the Kinner and Kev Show, 1410 ESPN Radio.
Denise has been playing jazz for 40 years. Last concert, one of the musicians fell sick with RSV. Respiratory syncytial virus, or RSV, is a highly contagious virus that can lead to breathing problems. This time, she's choosing to help protect herself with Pfizer's RSV vaccine, Abrysvo. Abrysvo is a vaccine for the prevention of lower respiratory tract disease caused by respiratory syncytial virus, RSV, in adults 60 years of age and older. Abrysvo is not for everyone and may not protect all who receive the vaccine. Don't get Abrysvo if you've had a severe allergic reaction to its ingredients. People with a weakened immune system may have a decreased response to Abrysvo. The most common side effects are tiredness, headache, pain at the injection site, and muscle pain. Ask your pharmacist or doctor about Pfizer's RSV vaccine, Abrysvo, respiratory syncytial virus vaccine. For full prescribing information, please call 1-844-989-7284 or visit abrysvo.com. Brought to you by Pfizer.
We all make resolutions this time of year, and let's face it, most of them won't stick. But here's one that's not only easy to keep, but will help you feel healthier all year long. Navage. Navage provides quick, drug-free nasal relief by washing saline in one nostril, around the back of the nose, and out of the other nostril. This time of year, when everyone is sick, Navage helps by sucking out germs, bacteria, and viruses trapped in our noses that cause us to feel miserable. And come allergy season, it does the same with dust, pollen, and other allergens. And unlike medications that can take time to help, if they're effective at all, Navage helps treat congestion symptoms in seconds flat, without drugs. This New Year's, resolve to use drug-free Navage to help you breathe easier, sleep better, and feel healthier all year long. Ask for Navage at Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Target, or find us online at Navage.com. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
Some days, my active psoriatic arthritis makes it hard to get in the game. Now, the ball is in my court, thanks to treating my skin and joints with Skyrizi, Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults.
Nothing is everything.
Skyrizi helps with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue. For those who also have plaque psoriasis, 90% clearer skin is possible with just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
With Skyrizi, there's nothing like clearer skin and better movement, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi and visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
Hungry for a great time? Maybe some great food? Then come on down to your neighborhood Submarine House. Try our oven-toasted deli subs, our mouth-watering salads, pizzas, appetizers, and more. And wash them down with a unique selection of craft beers while watching the big game on our big screens. With locations around Dayton, in Columbus, and our newest sports bar in Kettering, you're never far from a Submarine House. Subs, Sports, Spirits, Submarine House.
O'Reilly. Need a little help? O'Reilly Auto Parts can help. Need advice? We've got advice. No matter what you need, we have thousands of professional parts people doing their part to make sure you have it. Exceptional customer service. Just one part that makes O'Reilly stand apart. The professional parts people.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Lowe's knows pros want savings now. That's why, as an MVP's Pro Rewards member, you get volume savings on orders of $1,500 or more at the Pro Desk. And there's more. We've lowered our prices on select top products like electrical wire and drywall, so you can get the job necessities for less. Because Lowe's knows savings. Lowe's knows pros. In-store only. Exclusions, restrictions, and more terms apply. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident that was not your fault, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by to answer your questions for free. Call now and find out if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-384-1340. I'm here with spokesman John Wolf. So, John, tell everyone listening who should call right now.
Well, Maria, first off, thank you for having me here. It's always nice to answer the listeners' questions. Now, as far as who should call in, anyone who's been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, give us a call right now. 800-384-1340. You'll find out if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth.
Thanks, John. You heard it, folks. Take advantage of this opportunity and call now. 800-384-1340.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states.
If you need new roofing, siding, or gutters, skylights, or patio enclosures, if you're a homeowner or business and need someone you can trust, don't take a chance. Enhance with Lance. Lance Roofing and Siding in Fairborn has been satisfying customers since 1993 and hold an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. Lance Roofing and Siding, 8460 Dayton Springfield Road in Fairborn. Call for a free estimate at 864-2722. That's 864-2722 or online at lanceroofing.com.
Get a tax refund advance loan at Jackson Hewitt now. No refund advance offered by eligible clients. Application required. Loans by Republic Bank. Details at jacksonhewitt.com.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to hims.com/joy. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the name brands at up to 95% off. That's right, get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but for 95% less. It's the same medication, still prescribed by a licensed medical provider, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit, hims.com/joy.
We got more college basketball on 1410 WING here later on tonight. Ohio State Buckeyes, they're on the road taking on Nebraska. Ohio State started that thing in January where they just seem to struggle against teams in their conference. They'll beat some of the best teams in the country in the non-con. Makes no sense. I could see if you lost to good teams in the non-con and then couldn't beat teams in the Big Ten. But when you beat some of the best teams out there, and you come into Big Ten, but they got the win over Penn State like they should have last week, and they got Nebraska here tonight. They should win that one, but You never know.
We'll
Chris
see.
Owens Buckeyes. But 7 o'clock, the tip-off, 6:15 coverage begins right here on Dayton's radio home of Ohio State football and basketball. So Ohio State basketball tonight. We'll have Wright State basketball tomorrow night. No, it's Thursday night. Sorry. I don't even know what day it is. We're heading to Cleveland tomorrow. But Wright State will be at Cleveland State on Thursday night. That'll be another 7 o'clock tip-off. And then they'll be at IUPUI on Sunday. So there's that. All right. So I saw someone message this in about, so what up, Ryan? Ryan says, clearly anybody would want to be the OC with Burrow, Mixon, Chase, and Higgins. We can get a third wide receiver and an O-lineman to replace Jonah Williams. Players are going to want to play with Joe Burrow. So whoever the OC is going to have some dogs. No doubt, of course, any OC would want to be running the offense that is with those guys, but running the offense. The OC in Cincy is not running the offense. That's the whole reason. I mean, don't you think the same thing about the Kansas City Chiefs? Any OC would love to run the offense for Patrick Mahomes and company. Well, there's a reason, arguably, the best OC in football and Eric Bieniemy had to ultimately leave Kansas City because he wasn't really running the offense. He would get no credit for it whatsoever. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. You're not wrong, Ryan, but at the same time, let's talk about some of this that you guys are talking about, because it is interesting about add Callahan leaving to the list of things that the Bengals have to worry about this coming up off season. So with Callahan going to Tennessee, right away, the rumor mill start that's the favorite landing spot where T. Higgins is going to end up. Now, that's just connecting a dot. There's a motive there. Obviously, he played in Callahan's offense, whatever that means, in Cincinnati. So there's familiarity there. But again, who's throwing you the football? They'll pay you. They have plenty of money to spend. The Titans do. The Bengals don't. So, yes, there's that. But the Bengals have a lot that they have to decide. And I started looking at some of this today just because it wasn't just about the Bengals. It was about a lot of teams in this particular situation, Kev. So here's what they have on deck that they have to focus on this upcoming offseason. Of course, hiring a new offensive coordinator. It would be significantly easier if Dan Pitcher ultimately, who's the current Bengals quarterbacks coach, it'd be significantly easier. I can't say that word.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, nonetheless. But hoofa. But it would be much easier. There we go. If he just accepted the job and they could put that task behind them, right? Now, everyone keeps bringing up, including Ryan Roth, about all the money that they're going to spend this season, the $70 million that they have. Let's be clear. A lot of teams that have a lot of money to spend, if you go check, those teams don't spend all of that. Rollover money is very important, especially for teams who have paid their quarterback. And when you look at teams like Cleveland and you look at teams like the Saints and really just a lot of teams, the Chiefs have done this. There have been a lot of teams that have had cap space heading into a regular season. Now, some people say, well, that's because of in case of an emergency, if they need to sign a veteran player at a certain point to come in to fix a hole, whatever. Possibly, yes. But the other part of it is any rollover money you take into the next season is added on top of the available cap space that season. So you can go above the cap if you have that rollover money. And here's what the Browns do with Deshaun. You can make fun of Deshaun's contract and all that stuff all you want, right? $45 million a year, fully guaranteed. But when you roll over $30 million to the next season and you slap that $30 million against his $45 million and then you restructure it as a signing bonus, guess what? Now that's only $15 million against the cap. Okay? Now all of a sudden you have a quarterback that's $15 million as opposed to $45 million. And now all that extra money you have to spend under that year's current cap, that's what you do. The Cincinnati Bengals are going to be in that particular situation because you guys talk about the high, Deshaun Watson's fully guaranteed money. They have the highest paid quarterback in the league. Not all fully guaranteed, but with incentives and others. Then they got Jamar Chase coming up. People want them to pay T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. Oh, well, who are they going to go get to replace him? They're going to draft him. Then they got to make that decision of, okay, T. Higgins, we know we're not going to pay him long-term, but next year, if we have $70 million cap space and we franchise tag him and we have to roll over at least 30 to kind of offset some of Joey B's money in 25, now let's say you're down to, let's just say they do 20. Now you're down to 50. Now you got to pay 22.5 to T. Higgins when you sign him on the franchise tag. Well, man, that 50 now is in the 30s. And you're also losing DJ Reader, most likely. You're also most likely losing Mike Hilton. There's going to be some key pieces on what was already a bad defense. Those were the good pieces on the bad defense. You're going to lose them, and it's going to get significantly worse. You've put a lot of money into the offensive line, the running back position, okay? You had to make him take a pay cut, Joe Mixon, to stay. I don't know what they're going to do with him heading into next season. I'm bringing up all this stuff because they have tough decisions that they have to make. Where do you fall in the camp of, If the Bengals had Joe Burrow, they're a playoff team in 2023.
Yeah, I say they make it. I say they can still make it. They're gonna have to hit on their draft picks. They're gonna go what the Kansas City Chiefs did. They have to hit on their draft picks on the defensive side of the ball. You look at the Kansas City Chiefs. You look at Bolden. He's a young linebacker. I think he's like in his third year. You look at all the corners on their team. They're all young guys. They're all on their rookie deals. The only guy that's a veteran on that defense is Chris Jones, and obviously he held out earlier in the season. But the thing is, it's a roll of the dice if you're going to actually hit on that many guys. The Kansas City Chiefs have hit on that many guys. Like you drafted corners and safeties in previous years when you had veterans ahead of them, and now this is their first year starting. So you're expecting guys like a Dax Hill to take a jump and all that type of stuff. You drafted a defensive end last year, so you're expecting him to make a leap in his second year. But you're going to have to hit on incoming rookies on your first round, second round, and maybe even your third rounder on defense, because you're going to need them to start right away if you're going to get rid of some of your veteran players to save money to sign your offensive guys.
Saying all of that to say it's not impossible. You can do teams have done it. The Chiefs have done it. The Bengals had a really good draft 2 years in a row, that 2020, 2021, 22 and 23. You haven't got as many impact rookies and second-year players that you did from that class. We had Wilson and T and Jamar and Joe and those guys all in that couple-year span, of course. So they have these decisions to make, and the T. Higgins one, because you would like to roll over money. They're not going to spend all 70 million. I guarantee you. I'm not confident in a lot of things. I guarantee you they will not spend all 70 of that, because they have to be cognizant of how to roll over that money into the next season. So there's that. T. Higgins, it would make sense. You would like to be aggressive. You would like to go one more year of T and Jamar Chase, but again, now you're down to 50 mil. You tag him. Now you're 22 and a half minus the 50, of course. So it's going to be very tough. You're going to lose DJ Reader, Mike Hilton, and others. Doesn't mean you can't replace them. You can, but are you confident in their ability to go out and do that? So I started looking at this. The reason I asked you about the Joe Burrow thing, how confident are you that they would have made the playoffs if he was healthy this season? It's just they would be an outlier if they did. Now, we've seen them get to a Super Bowl and come within a play of winning a Super Bowl with the quarterback getting sacked 70 times. That will probably never happen again, even Joe Burrow. Like that, it is what it is. But they are outliers when you look at the numbers. So I went back and I looked at the last 3 years, just using a current sample size, just with the way the NFL is built and running and everything else, how rosters are constructed. So they had the second worst defense of the NFL and the second worst run game in the NFL. 7 of the top 10 defenses made the playoffs this season. 7 of the top 10. 8 of the top 10 defenses made the playoffs the season before, and 7 of the top 10 defenses made it the year before that. That's consistently across the board. Now, the teams that had top 10 defenses that did not make the playoffs, your Carolina Panthers, historically bad offenses. The Jets, minus Aaron Rodgers, bad offenses. And what was the other one? Oh, the Patriots. Woofa. Well, to your point, that's Joe Burrow. He comes back. He can offset that. He could be a team that gets into the playoff with the bad offense, but the bad run game. So 8 of the worst 10 defenses, or 8 of the 10 worst running teams in football did not make the playoffs. The Texans made it with a bottom 10 running defense. But again, look at their passing numbers. They were better than Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow. They were better than the best passing offense. So they offset that. That's not how the league's operating right now, if the way he was playing, unless that's the consistency moving forward. So you have to play to that level to overcome that. Even when Joey B got a little more healthier, they still weren't playing that way. And then on top of that, when you go on to look, 2 of the worst 10 rushing teams that did make the playoffs, Tampa Bay played in the worst division in football. Their record, last place in the AFC North if they're there. And then the other one was the Eagles. Well, the Eagles, they started 10-2 or 11-2, and they just crapped the bed the rest of the way. But they made the playoffs 13 weeks into the season. They just weren't the same team. The bottom line is keeping T is great. Be aggressive, all this stuff. Joey B's there, so everything's hunky-dory and great. Joey B being there, he ain't making the run game better. He's not out there tackling people. They have a lot of holes. They have a lot of problems. At the beginning of the season, we thought they were Super Bowl favorites because they were supposed to be the most well-rounded team in football. They have a good passing attack, and that's it. So they have a lot of decision-making to make this upcoming offseason. I don't think keeping T was as simple as what I thought it would have been a month ago when you start really peeling it back and looking at some of their deficiencies as we head into this offseason.
Yeah, they got issues, and I will be remiss to think that not every single team out there has hard decisions to make. You look at the Buffalo Bills. What are they going to do with Stephon Diggs? What are they going to do with their head coach? I mean, we look at the Dallas Cowboys. I mean, they decided to bring back their head coach. Like, everybody out there has tough decisions to make financially. That's why this is the NFL. I don't think any team out there is just looking at like, hey, man, this is great. I mean, if we even look at the teams that are in the Final Four, you look at if you're trying to project towards next year, the teams that's left in the Final Four of the NFL, the only team that is sitting in a pretty spot for next year is the Detroit Lions, because most of their guys are on their rookie contract still. They don't have anybody to pay. I mean, you look at Hutchinson, he's like in his second year. You look at Laporte, he's a rookie. You look at Gibbs, he's a rookie. You look at St. Brown, he's on his rookie deal. Like, all these dudes are super young. I say all that to say this. You can make impact players out of draft picks. And that's what it's going to take for everybody, not just the Browns, not just the Bengals, not just the Steelers, everybody. You're going to need impact from your draft class. That is the only way to win in this league, because you can't pay everybody. You just simply can't pay everybody. So if you would like to trade T. Higgins, go ahead and do it. But you're going to have to maybe get, I don't know, Neighbors from LSU, Keon Coleman from Florida State. You got the Rome Aduze to replace him. That's what you're going to have to do, and basically, quote unquote, reset the clock. We use the term reset the clock a ton on the quarterback position. But if you have that many guys and you move off of your, your number 2 wide receiver to go get another number 2 wide receiver and pay him less, ultimately, that's what you're going to have to do. It's so many teams out there that got difficult decisions to make. I mean, look at the Ravens, like Patrick Queen. He's up for a deal. I don't think they're going to be able to pay Patrick Queen.
Thanks, Roquan.
Because they were able to get Roquan Smith. So they're dynamic. They're probably the best 1-2 linebackers in the NFL. It's not going to last for long, because one's got paid. You're not going to be able to pay 2 inside linebackers the most money in the NFL. It just mathematically does not work out like that. So he's probably going to do a sign and trade for somebody next year in the offseason, and they're going to lose their second best defensive player. I mean, and they're in the Final Four. I mean, you look at everything that's going on with the Kansas City Chiefs. They got a whole bunch of young wide receivers that can't catch the ball. Well, they did versus the Bills, though. But you got Patrick Mahomes, and that's what you expect out of your franchise quarterback. You expect him to make more with less.
No, and yes, thank you. More with less, because so that ties into what Steve Stetler, he just messaged into the show, said, call it what it is. The Bengals window is closed. I'm here to tell you, it's not. It's not. But that it could be if they have a bad offseason and they make the wrong decisions. Here's the thing. Do you think the Chiefs wanted to move on from Tyreek Hill? I mean, this idea that there's no way you could split Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. There's way. I mean, the Chiefs won a Super Bowl. They didn't almost win a Super Bowl like Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. Tyreek Hill and Patrick Mahomes actually won a Super Bowl together. Their fan base was saying, there's no way they'll split those. They split them up, because that $30 million a year that Tyreek Hill wanted was 2 to 3 other players, dynamic players on the defensive side of the ball. So, or the offensive line.
They did that to get the offensive line. I mean, and they also had to do it to even sign their rookie class.
Yep. So, and that's the thing. So, but they looked at Patrick Mahomes and said, we gave you $500 million over a 10-year window. We're going to give you that money, but your job is to take guys that aren't as sexy name-wise, and you got to elevate them. So, Joey B, I hope you had fun with Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, but now it's time to be a big boy. You got to go out there and you got to elevate, and to his credit, he's made some not non-name guys that have come in to fill in when T's hurt and Jamar's hurt, and he's had some good games with them, but that's what he has to approach every season as. So they're not out of it yet, because they're going to win a ton of games next season if those 3 are healthy, T, Jamar, and Joe Burrow. But marrying T, or this idea that they're still trying to find a way to get a T. Higgins deal done is just, that's not happening unless you're not keeping Jamar.
Franchise tag him.
So
franchise tag him, run it back, and see where you land. You got, if Joe Burrow has as much sway in the building as we all say he does, he's probably telling them, we got to sign him. The Bengals are like, best thing we can do is franchise him, and he's going to have to take it or leave it, because I don't think they're going to be able to re-sign him, considering all the other pieces that they're going to be needing to fill. And I mean, that's just the reality of the NFL. You can't keep everybody. I mean, looking back at the team that I follow, Pittsburgh Steelers, Ben was paid. Antonio Brown was paid. You know who wasn't paid? Le'Veon Bell. There's most of the time you can only afford to pay 2 players on each side of the ball.
like pay, like market value.
Yeah, everybody's gonna nobody's playing for free, but like bust the bank, you only can afford to do that to 2 guys.
That and never in the history of the league has a team had the highest paid wide receiver and the highest paid quarterback on the roster. And you want me to believe that a team that traditionally is known for not spending money is going to be the first team to do that? I don't know, man. Like I've said a lot for a long time. Business-wise, it makes more sense to keep T than Jamar Chase. But then T has to be hurt the last 2 years and really make their lives even more miserable. So we'll see. But and the Steelers have a lot of decisions to make. The Browns have a lot. Actually, the Browns don't have as many. A lot of the guys that they signed last year to revamp that defenses were all on 2-year deals for the most of them outside of Zadarius Smith. So like their number 1 ranked defense, they're going to have that same number 1 ranked defense next year. Do they play Houston? It's a Kinner and Kev Show on 1410 ESPN Radio.
You have empty office space to fill or home office to create. You know what you need. You know what you'd like. But you also have a pretty good idea after you've shopped around the usual places what you need and what you like might not happen. Well, then you haven't been to Charles Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. Nobody has their selection. Nobody has their discounts. And every week, there's something new. If you need office furniture, Larrick's Warehouse Outlet can sell it to you for half the price and below manufacturer's selected prices. Half price and below on hundreds of items. Selection from budget to the best. Really, desks from $50 to $5,000. Filing cabinets from $25 to $500. Before you go anywhere else, do yourself a favor and come to Larrick's Warehouse Outlet. With 25,000 square feet of selection, you're not going to go anywhere else. Larrick's Warehouse Outlet at 23 McOil Avenue, Dayton. Open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6. Larrick's, continuing the tradition.
Have you heard? Bath Creations has moved to their new location and showroom at 8741 North Kimmel Road in Clayton. This gives you even more opportunity to see the incredible amenities and craftsmanship Bath Creation offers. With Bath Creations, you get a beautiful, modern bathroom that is safe, comfortable, and your purchase. Visit at 8741 North Kimmel Road in Clayton.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
Looking for sweet heat that's hard to beat? Head to Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken and try the Hot Honey Chicken Sandwich, here for a limited time. This all-new sandwich features our famous hand-breaded, pressure-cooked chicken breast covered in Mike's Hot Honey on a brioche bun. It's the chicken sandwich made sweeter and spicier. Discover the craveable flavor that can only happen when Mike's Hot Honey meets Lee's Famous Recipe Chicken. Pick up an irresistible Hot Honey Chicken Sandwich today. Only at Lee's, famous for chicken.
Get a tax refund advance loan at Jackson Hewitt now. No refund advance offered by eligible clients. Application required. Loans by Republic Bank. Details at jacksonhewitt.com.
What I know about courage, I learned from my adoptive mom. She said sometimes you just gotta hold on and know we'll get through this. Mom, we are so high up. Hold my hand.
No, you hold my hand.
Here we go.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more.
I learned patience from my adoptive dad. All he had to say was,
"Hey, you got this. Just breathe." Hey, we're pretty good.
Yeah.
Might have to start a band.
I got it.
Learn about adopting a teen from foster care. You can't imagine the reward. Visit adoptuskids.org to find out more. This message is brought to you by Adopt US Kids, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, and the Ad Council.
If you're a sports fan in the Miami Valley, make sure you subscribe to Dayton's ESPN Radio YouTube channel. Buckeyes, Browns, Bengals, local high school sports, Dayton Flyers, Wright State Raiders, and more. Search ESPN Dayton on YouTube and subscribe today.
Justin Kinner, Kev Nash back with you here on Dayton's ESPN Radio 1410 Wing AM. Ryan Roth on Facebook, Kev. We talked a lot of Bengals in that first hour. Of course, they're without their they lost their offensive coordinator, and Brian Callahan, who is now the head coach for the Tennessee Titans, of course. Ryan Roth says the Bengals still haven't even replaced P. Ryan. He gave them a lot. The Bengals, going back to the last thing on them, I want to move on to some other stuff, but like, I know we want to make this a big deal about wide receiver, but you guys understand why Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce works, right? Like Travis Kelce going out, they were fortunate to have the best tight end in football. So if you pay the best tight end in football that 15 to 20 mil a year money, which is the high money for tight ends, right? So you can have the number one pass catcher at tight end for 20 mil a year, or the number one wide receiver in football for 30.
Mm-hmm.
That's why the Chiefs work, because they were able to get a guy that is as productive as a number one wide receiver in football for half the cost almost. And on top of that, they don't pay a true number two wide receiver because literally every damn dime is on the defensive side of the ball and offensive line and under center. Like that's what it is. So tight end is going to be key as well. The Bengals have never really, and I've defended them on this. I've said, Bengals is like, they need a tight end. They need to get the Mayer kid from Notre Dame last year. They need to, who's the Brock Bowers? They need to get him from Georgia. I'm like, yes. In the past, I said no, because you have Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase. You don't need one. If you can get those, God, my gosh, add another weapon. Why don't you? They didn't need to they now need to prioritize tight end. Tight end has to be something that they could get a big time pass catcher / blocker / impact guy for significantly cheaper than giving money to T. Higgins, even signing the franchise tag. I think that tight end needs to be where they look to go, or they be aggressive and maybe go after a Saquon. Can you imagine Saquon in Cincinnati? I mean, can you imagine Derrick Henry's available? I don't think he's going to garner top dollar. So I'm just saying, like, I think that they need to look at impact guys that will not cost as much as having to keep T. Higgins. I think you move on from T. You get those draft picks. That's all that matters. You still have Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. You get a cheaper big-time playmaker at tight end if you have to. That's what I would do if I'm Cincinnati, to try to maximize the dollars and draft picks to set yourself up moving forward.
I think Saquon ends up with Tampa.
Really?
I think he ends up in Tampa. They need production from the running back spot down there. I think they re-sign Mike Evans, re-sign Baker, and sign Saquon to a deal. If I'm Cincinnati, I would consider, trading T. Higgins. Kind of just depends on what's the offer. Like if I'm getting a first round, if I'm like getting the number 15, I don't know who has the number 15 pick, but like, hey, somebody would offer me first round number 15, let's do it. Because guess what? I'm going to replace T. Higgins with, like I said, neighbors from LSU, Keon Coleman, maybe even Rome Aduzier falls to them at that spot. So yeah, I mean, and like you said, you could get a tight end, like, or maybe miss two number twos. Like, hey man, I'm gonna give you two number twos for T. Higgins. I would consider it. If I'm only getting, third and fourth rounders, I'll run it back. I have to get impact value for an impact player.
Ryan Roth says Derrick Henry is old and slow. By the way, I don't think the Bengals should go after Derrick Henry, but those were the lists of names that the Bengals should target and all this stuff or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, if you could find a way to, if you could find offensive explosion cheaper than T. Higgins, I think you go that route. I mean, that's really what it's going to come down to here in the immediate future, no doubt about it. So we'll see. But yeah, the running back thing, I still think Mixon, I think you can get another good year out of Mixon. I was critical of Mixon when he was getting paid 10+ mil a year. He took the pay cut, $5 million a year. What he gave him last year, I know he was leading the second worst running offense in football. By the way, you talked about the second worst running offensive football. That was the Bucs. The Bucs had the worst. So you talk about Saquon going there. Yes, they need to prioritize that. Baker, they're talking about paying him about that $40 to $45 million a year range.
Good for him. Good for him, because
good for them. Good for them though, or good for him. I agree with you,
because that's about a $10 million raise than what he was going to get with the Browns.
Yep.
Shouts out to Baker.
And he was used as a pawn this whole playoff to just, because everyone hates the Browns, right? Like, yeah, we suck. We get it. Like, fan base sucks. We all suck. Okay. But like when Baker played well, that was used against Cleveland. Then when he played bad, it was still used against Cleveland. Like, it's like, he still has some Cleveland left in him and blah, blah, blah. My gosh, like, not everything is always that. Like, it's just unbelievable to me.
On that last drive against the Lions,
I knew it was a pick.
Okay, long as you knew.
I knew.
Long as you didn't think like, oh, he's going to lead us down there.
It was adorable though. He stood up there with that confidence, that Baker swag. You knew there were some Bucs fans. Or Ron, our guy Ron, he was getting all excited. But I'm like, oh man, this just that. But and by the way, the difference between the elite quarterbacks and that is that it's the last 3 minutes of a game. That's how you separate. Because Baker's numbers wise, he was as good as any top QB in the league this year. But this is why I brought up Jacoby Brissett 2 years ago for the Browns. Jacoby statistically was a top 10 quarterback in the NFL 2 years ago when they first got Deshaun, who was suspended for the first 11 games. Jacoby statistically from 2+ touchdowns a game to 250 passing yards a game statistically was a top 10 completion percentage. But Kev, they lost the Chargers game because of an interception late and, of course, a missed field goal. The Jets game, the interception. Like, he lost them so many games because he would throw those late fourth quarter interceptions. But statistically, a top 10 quarterback. But that's the thing. You can look at the stats as a whole. I think that's what the Seahawks ran into with their guy. It's like, okay, but I think we're the guys that, like, that's why Joe Burrow is the real deal because of what he does there. Deshaun showed flashes in that game against the Ravens. That was the thing to me. He had 3 bad quarters and an elite fourth quarter. And people want to bring up the 3 bad quarters. I would much rather have a QB that had 3 shaky quarters and that dominant 14-14, whatever. Yeah. So I think that's really what separates the Patrick Mahomes and the Joe Burrows from the Baker Mayfields, because Baker's pretty damn quarterback for quarters 1 through 3.5. It's that final stretch, that final drive. It's not the guy. That's not your guy.
Excuse me. That's the thing about the NFL. Like, that's why I always talk about, man, it's a razor's edge how close this league is, because that's why I'm like not a stats guy, because the stats will tell you, hey, man, this player is just as good as this player, or this player isn't any good. But it's really all about the fourth quarter. What is the fourth quarter going to do? What are you going to do in the fourth quarter when crunch time? Are you going to step up to the challenge? Are you going to make the right throws? And for Baker Mayfield, he's been a starter in this league far too long to throw late across the middle. A guy like Jordan Love, him throwing late across the middle, you can kind of overlook it because, like, all right, it's his first year starting. You're expecting him to make another leap next year and everything like that. But for Baker, 1, 2, 3, this is like his 4th year as a starting quarterback. You can't do that. But guess what? $40 million. Bring it. They got to pay him. They got to pay him because that is the going rate for a starting quarterback in the NFL.
Which is why I don't regret the Browns moving on from him, even though I was a big Baker supporter, because Baker had that clutch gene in college. He had that clutch gene early on in Cleveland. In fact, his debut, they were down at halftime. They put him in right before halftime. They were trailing, and he leads them on a scoring drive heading into the locker room, and then he comes back and leads them to a come-from-behind win against the Jets on what I think it was like a Thursday night football game or whatever. So the Browns thought they had it, and the reason that they thought that they had it was because statistically he was good, and he had a couple game-winning drives that season as a rookie. Never again, though. Never had it again. So that's and Baker is the most dangerous. When he says he's feeling dangerous, he is the most dangerous quarterback in the NFL. Because he's going to get $40 million and it's not going to work. And then we'll do this thing where media will, the Bucs, that was a bad contract, but it's not, because you get trapped. It's hard to find a Baker Mayfield. It's hard to find an Andy Dalton. It's hard to find those guys. So when you find them, it's bad business to just let them walk out the door. But it's also bad business to give him $40 to $45 million a year, right? Like
that's exactly why. That's exactly why Dak is going to get this $55 million contract.
Ooh.
That is why Kirk Cousins is about to get paid, because it's, hey man, you either have an elite quarterback like a Patrick Mahomes or Lamar or Joe Burrow or Josh Allen in that caliber of quarterback, or you have what is a big lump sum of very good quarterbacks from Dak to Baker, or you could have a terrible quarterback like a Zach Wilson and a Kenny Pickett. You don't want those. I can tell you that. Hand raised to the sky. You don't want those. So I guess we got to do it. It's either that or the worst thing out there. So you have to go for the guy in the middle, because guess what? What's even harder to find than a guy that's a good quarterback is an elite quarterback. That's why I always have this pushback on, just lose a whole bunch of games and draft a guy, and that your problems will be solved. How many teams have lost in year after year and drafted a quarterback number 1 overall or in their top pick and they flamed out? Like, you can look at the Buffalo Bills. They drafted E.J. Manuel. He flamed out. They drafted somebody else. They flamed out. They finally landed on Josh Allen, and he's the guy. How many quarterbacks have the Browns went through until they ultimately had a good one, and Baker Mayfield decided to move on for him, had to go the free agent route to get Deshaun Watson. And shoot, we still don't know about Deshaun because of the injuries. So you got that. So I don't think it's as simple as, just lose and then you get one. It doesn't work like that. Look at what's going on with the Carolina Panthers. They had the number 1 pick overall, and the kid looks broken already. Is it broken because he was small in stature? Broken because there's meddling from the ownership and they wouldn't let, everything work itself out with the coaching staff? We have no idea. We have no idea what the problem is, but we do know that he looks broken, at least for right now. And who's going to go and coach there? Now, I say that all the time. Don't take a bad job. Somebody's going to take the job. Somebody's going to ultimately take the job with the Carolina Panthers, but is it going to be somebody that can cultivate him, that can develop him, to get him on track, to get him back to being number 1 status? Rumors about what's the Texans offensive coordinator? There's rumors that he's going to be their head coach. What does that do for CJ Stroud? So it's an unexact science. I mean, we look at this upcoming draft. All right, everybody, Caleb Williams going number 1 to the Bears. See how that worked out for the last quarterback that they drafted, right? What's the kid? Drake May, Jaden Daniels, Penix Jr., McCarthy. We have no idea which one is going to be good. We know one's going to be good. We have no idea which one's going to be good.
No doubt. That's why I love this debate, because it's one of those where neither side is wrong. But I do know, good quarterback play for 10 years, average to maybe every once in a while above average quarterback play for 10 years, always above 500, always in the playoff conversation. But Cleveland, since Big Ben retired from the last year of Big Ben, the Browns built up to a playoff team, crashed. And they built back up to a playoff team in a Super Bowl. They've done that twice in the matter of Mason Rudolph being a Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback in some capacity. So the philosophy of that is, you can't always go out fishing, but teams have lapped the Steelers twice. Houston has lapped Pittsburgh twice in the last decade. So you're not wrong, but I think that a lot of times it's okay. We want to go through all this just to get good quarterback play and be competitive for a bit, or screw it, we have to get an elite quarterback. And if we miss out, why do I always forget the Alabama quarterback's name that Carolina drafted? I do this, you tell me, you fix it all the time. We got to take a chance on Bryce. It didn't work. I could see this being like when the Cardinals moved on from Josh Rosen like that. I mean, new GM, all this. But
they don't have that pick.
So they're going to be stuck with them. You're right. So there's that. But if they had that pick still, which they technically wouldn't have the quarterback if they would have traded it. But yeah, Chicago, and by the way, Justin Fields, I'm just not a big believer in him. So that's why I think that has a combination of not being run properly and also not having the right tools. But watch. They're going to get Caleb Williams, and if they end up with Marvin Harrison Jr., man, look, the Bears, they're going to be like the Houston Texans were a joke a year ago. They were a joke. And great coach, great quarterback.
I'll take that bet. I'll take that bet right now.
That's fair.
Whoever they draft, if it's Caleb Williams or if it's Drake May, if it's you, if it's me, if it's Michael Penix, whoever they draft number 1 will not work out. I would take that bet right now.
The quarterback?
Yes. Whoever they draft at quarterback will not work out. I would take that bet right now.
90% of people were probably, and I'm saying this confidently, I hate when people do that. You know what the thing too that drives me? It's like, well, people are saying which people. Name them. When people do that to me,
Twitter.
When people do that to me, it pisses me off because like we all know, like we hear enough stuff, enough people just in conversations, so we think that that's a popular opinion. So then we say things like, "Oh, people say," and then when they say, "Prove it," you know what I do to my wife all the time when we're arguing? Well, you said this. I'm like, I didn't say that. Prove it. You can't prove it. Oh, that takes her off. So when people do it to me, I hate it. But however, people said this about the Bengals, and look where they are. Like. Zach Taylor was a joke of a head coach. Gets Joe Burrow, and my gosh, the Bengals, they're just a heck of an organization. They color match their shirts on stripe night, and they're just an adorable little franchise, right? All of a sudden, the Texans were a joke. That great head coach, great rookie quarterback. The future, sky's the limit, right? I think the Bears have a better shot at jumping to that next level than the Steelers sticking with Kenny Pickett.
I will take that bet.
What are we betting? I'm not good at this.
I know you're not going to pay.
No, I'll pay it. Just gotta give me time.
You gotta have somebody else pay for you. No, I'll take that bet. I don't believe in what they got going on. So take this for instance. If they're running back with their coach, they fired their whole offensive staff. So you draft Caleb Williams. He doesn't pan out. They run the same record, whatever their record was this year. They run the exact same record. They're going to fire the head coach, and they're going to get a whole new offensive staff the next year. So then year 2, Caleb's learning a new system. So he's going to be behind. That's what's going to happen. It's as clear as day. Do you think the Chicago Bears are going to be beating the Green Bay Packers based off of what we've seen from the Green Bay Packers and their offense and what they're able to do? The youngest team in football, not only on offense and defense, all on rookie deals. So they're going to be able to fix whatever problems they have because they got the money to go out there and get it. So they're not going to be better than them. Kirk Cousins is supposed to be coming back to Minnesota Vikings. Last time we seen him, he was out here obviously throwing dimes to Justin Jefferson. Maybe they're better than them. We know they're not going to be better than the Detroit Lions. So at best, they're third. At best, they're third in their own division. Now, if you're a great, like the AFC North, third will get you to the playoffs, but they're not.
But it is the NFC. So third in that division is probably fifth in the NFC. Look, there is nothing, and I see there is nothing about what the Bears have done recently to make you allow me. But the Texans were god awful. The Bengals were god awful.
As you like to say,
boom,
outlier. Those are outliers.
But there's a lot of teams that get
those are outliers. But there's a million teams that don't.
A million teams and those teams suck, though. That's the thing. They just run in place. So, by the way, do you like running around town or do you like the treadmill where you run
in town?
See why? Because you're moving, right? You're not just running in place. I thought Steelers fan like you. I thought you'd just be running in place, man.
As a Browns fan, we've seen the jersey with all the quarterbacks' names on there that have been in there. They did that. They had a good one. They decided to move off of them and went the free agent route. So it's not like they sucked and drafted their quarterback. They decided, we're going to go ahead the free agent route and upgrade. So that's another team that you can't say like, oh man, they got the quarterback and they got it figured out. I mean, you can go look at the Arizona Cardinals. They got Kyler. They're basically the same. They're more entertaining to watch because he runs around like a madman with his head cut off. They're more fun to watch because of that. But are they doing what they're supposed to do, which is win games? They're not winning games.
Who?
The Cardinals.
Oh, just making sure.
So
started with the Browns. Damn it.
I'm just saying it's unexact science. And the people that say, oh, just lose and then just draft one. You're not guaranteed to get one if you lose.
But I think so. And last thing on this, when this argument gets to this point, I guess it's around the time where the Browns are with Baker, when it comes time to having to pay the guy. When you have to pay the guy, I think at that point you have to make that decision versus, I think, okay, rather than pay Baker, we just need to start over. Or if there's an opportunity to trade for an Aaron Rodgers or trade for Russell Wilson or Deshaun.
Oh, yeah, the Jets, Zach Wilson.
And you do that as far as that's concerned. So you say you don't lose to draft a rookie quarterback because you don't know, but at least it's like the lottery, right? You're not going to win the lottery, but my gosh, you feel like, man, what am I going to do with this money when I win it? That's how those teams feel when they draft, as opposed to Kenny Pickett. Are you really doing the scratching off? This is going to be the year he just all of a sudden magically turns into a good quarterback. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I think, yeah, it's all just a mess. But
it's a mess.
Teams are lapping the Steelers, though, man.
They're lapping, and they're not winning championships either.
But they're in better position to win them.
But they're not winning. Look, we established that everybody out there If you don't win it, it's a bust of a season, right? We established that, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't win it, then
depends what the expectations were coming in, but yeah.
Yeah. The expectations for me for the Steelers was to make it to the playoffs. We did that.
So if we look at want to play a game, we got the association coming. Want to play a game? We're going to look at the team over let's do a 2-year window. The next 2 years, which team has a brighter Super Bowl window the next 2 years compared to the Steelers? Now, I would be, whether you were the co-host or not, I promise you, I would still be using the Steelers because of what they do. Never tanking, never going the route that the Browns and the Bengals and everyone else have done, where we got to suck to win, like type of deal. So I'm not picking on trying to get Kev all agitated, but you know what?
It is what it is. It's the life.
Yeah.
It's the life of a Steelers fan. I honestly think some people want the Steelers to tank so they can suck and say, "Hey, you suck," but you can never say that the Steelers suck. You can't say like, "Oh man, you guys suck. You're the worst team, and you're drafted number 1 because you suck." Like, I truly think that some people want to have that feeling to say, "Hey, you're the worst. You're the last in the division. You're the last in the NFL. Ha ha! Finally, you stink."
I'd be saying, finally, they really care about winning.
I think some people want them to fire Coach Tomlin because, like, oh man, this dude's winning with this. The next guy can't win with this trash. They're gonna suck. They just want my team to suck. They want the Steelers to suck. It's all good.
This thing on? They suck. No. We'll be right back. It's the Kinner Kev Show, 1410 ESPN Radio.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
Rain and fog in the forecast for tonight, an overnight low of 40. Rain, patchy fog, 51 Wednesday. Thursday, more rain and fog, and 56. I'm Rick Schmidt for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Some days, my active psoriatic arthritis makes it hard to get in the game. Now, the ball is in my court, thanks to treating my skin and joints with Skyrizi, risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults.
Nothing is everything.
Skyrizi helps with less joint pain, stiffness, swelling, and fatigue. For those who also have plaque psoriasis, 90% clearer skin is possible with just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
With Skyrizi, there's nothing like clearer skin and better movement, and that means everything. Ask your doctor today about Skyrizi and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With Venture X, earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy and turn everyday purchases into extraordinary trips. Plus, receive premium travel benefits like access to over 1,300 airport lounges where you just check in and chill out. Open up a world of possibilities with Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
And now another no-brainer money-saving tip from Progressive.
That doesn't sound good.
Paper shredder's jammed, but I think I fixed it.
Oh, well, try shredding these $50 bills then.
Seems like it's working.
Better try another $400.
Stop. Instead of using money, use regular paper. And here's a better tip from Progressive on how not to waste money. Don't pay too much for car insurance. Drivers who switch and save could save hundreds. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states.
Start the new year off right with a Dakota Closet System on sale today at Menards. Dakota Closets can be used anywhere throughout your home. Perfect for walk-in or reach-in closets, pantries, laundry rooms, and more. Dakota Closets are available to take home today and install with just a screwdriver, giving you more time to organize. Design and take home your next project using You Create Closet Planner. Visit your local Menards or design online today.
Save big money at Menards.
By now, you should know Audio Etc. has all the same sales and deals on TVs and projectors as everyone else. But did you know we also have some of the world's best hi-fi? Hi, this is Kirby from Audio Etc. And we do have some of the best home theater high-fidelity gear on the planet. Not only do we have your favorite brands like Clip speakers and SVS subwoofers, but audiophile greats from Bowers & Wilkins, Kef, NAD, Marantz, Cambridge, Mark Levinson, and plenty of vinyl and tube gear. Plus exotics you only see in the magazines. Stop by today and visit Audio Etc.'s crazy cool showroom and see and audition the best audio and video has to offer. While you're in, check out our huge selection of pre-owned vintage gear. A great way to afford great gear otherwise out of reach, or revisit old classics. Audio Etc. Sound advice you can trust. Audio Etc. 551 Congress Park Drive at the corner of Paragon and Centerville, or call 434-9770.
Audio Etc.'s crazy cool showroom.
Hey, let me tell you about the advantages of driving with my friends at Cordell Transportation. First of all, for the new year, they're offering brand new equipment to drive. They purchased new equipment, and not a lot of people could say that, but they've got it, and they're ready to roll with you. Cordell Transportation is offering an incredible $5,000 sign-on bonus paid over 18 months. If you're an experienced Class A CDL driver looking for excellent benefits, home daily dedicated lanes, no-touch freights, then apply today online at CordellTransportation.com. Cordell Transportation, driven to succeed.
Jackson Hewitt has a plan to get your tax refund fast with a buck here, buck there. Here a buck, there a buck, everywhere a buck.
You don't have to wait weeks for your tax refund. Get money sooner with a no-fee refund advance loan at Jackson Hewitt.
On this loan, there's a money today guarantee. E-I-E-I-Do.
Don't settle for chicken feed. Get fast bucks at Jackson Hewitt today. No-fee refund advance loans by Republic Bank offered to eligible clients. Money today guarantee if approved for a loan on a prepaid card. Details at jacksonhewitt.com.
Hi, this is Scott Trout of Cordell & Cordell. If you're a dad who is facing divorce, there are extra layers of stress that may include stereotypes and assumptions. No two situations are the same. Our legal experience and dedication prepare us for whatever legal challenges we face together. You need a partner you can count on. For more than 30 years, Cordell & Cordell has represented men in divorce.
Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's Dayton area attorneys. 2689 Commons Boulevard, Suite 100, Beaver Creek, Ohio, 45431.
Get a tax refund advance loan at Jackson Hewitt now. No refund advance offered by eligible clients. Application required. Loans by Republic Bank. Details at jacksonhewitt.com.
My dad has a cold, but also has high blood pressure. That's why I got him Vicks NyQuil High Blood Pressure for fast, powerful nighttime relief. Unlike some ordinary cold medicines, it's specially formulated for people like my dad. NyQuil High Blood Pressure is sugar-free, alcohol-free, and decongestant-free.
Vicks NyQuil High Blood Pressure. The nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, fever, sore throat, cold, and flu for people with high blood pressure.
Like my dad.
Medicine. Use as directed.
It's game day at Jim's house, and the spread is impressive.
Mike's already done some damage with the hot wings, and now he's dropping back and going deep for another slice of pizza.
I sure hope he brought the Pepto.
Mike knows that Pepto-Bismol provides fast 5-symptom relief from unexpected stomach upsets. He's no rookie.
The way he's throwing back those nachos, he's the GOAT.
Be ready for game day with Pepto-Bismol.
When you have nausea, heartburn, indigestion, upset stomach, diarrhea.
Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
All right, and we are back. It's the Kinner and Kev Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio. We'll do that game another time.
No problem.
We'll do that. I've just been embarrassing you a lot today. I'd hate to you move your camera down just a tad. There you go. The forehead. Everyone's like the Kinner and Kev Nash's forehead show.
Dome.
Yeah.
Dome.
Still move it down a little more. You can't even see.
I can't see. Oh, actually, I can if I change my window.
There we go. There's that. Hey, now we're off and rolling. Yesterday we talked about the court storming situation in the Ohio State Iowa women's basketball game. By the way, it's the most watched women's college basketball game since 2010. And all this. You know what I did notice yesterday? So last year was kind of like the Angel Reese versus Caitlin Clark. Mm-hmm. You had to pick a villain. You had to pick, But have you noticed Caitlin Clark's been the face of women's college basketball this season, right? But you noticed you're starting to people hate greatness, right? People like you're only a good story for a little bit, but I see more people attacking her on social media now after that flop on the court yesterday or Sunday or whatever it was. But yeah, I'm starting to see a lot more people go at her on social media than before. And I'm not rooting for that, by the way. I'm just saying, like, it's how sports work. Yeah, you build them up just to tear them down, and that's exactly what's happening. Angel Reese was built up just to tear her down. Caitlin Clark, I mean, my gosh, but nonetheless. So the Big Ten responded to what had, went down over the weekend. Obviously Ohio State, they get the big upset over Iowa. But afterwards, 18,000 fans. It was the most attended college women's basketball game of the season so far to this point. They rushed the floor after they beat the number 2 team in the country. Iowa's women's basketball coach, not happy, had this to say in the post game.
It's unfortunate the game ended that way, and Caitlin gets taken out on the floor, gets some inappropriate words yelled at her by fans, by students. That just should not happen. It should not happen. Our players should be safe. They should be able to walk off the floor. That's very disappointing. I think Ohio State, great team, great environment, but obviously very disappointed with the post game with our players getting injured trying to walk out of the gym. That's wrong.
I get it. She's ticked off. Caitlin Clark wasn't happy about it, and they have every right to be upset about that. But like the tone is if like let's not pretend. Look, there was it was the highest attendance for a women's game this season.
Mm-hmm.
Women's college basketball games don't usually generate that much buzz and excitement. Not saying it's right or wrong, but they should have been more buttoned up. It is the Ohio State University, no doubt about it. I told you yesterday I'm not a fan of the court storming or anything like that, but the Big Ten did release a statement today.
Okay.
So here's the statement from the Big Ten that, it's your typical, fluff stuff, right? But the safety and security of student athletes, coaches, and staff is of utmost importance. The Big Ten requires host institutions to provide adequate security for visiting teams from their arrival for a game through their departure. If adequate security is not provided, there is a process in place that begins with a private reprimand for the first offense, public reprimand for the second offense, and the discretion to implement a fine plus additional penalties for a third offense. We routinely review our policy as needed to ensure a safe environment for everyone. So, I mean, it is what it is. That's a typical statement. Mm-hmm. They don't tell you anything. They tell you something, but they don't tell you anything. That's why I get mad when people say, oh, so the Big Ten, they're not going to release a statement on this? Or if something happens in the program, UD, you're going to release a statement on this? There's not a statement that is going to appease you. So why do we do this? But people were mad that the Big Ten, it took them so long, that it took until Tuesday before they released something. And I'm like, but you're happy with, if that would have came out Sunday night, that would have fulfilled your life? You would have been happy with that? Look, it's unfortunate what happened, but it is what it is. Like it just is. It's unfortunate. Luckily, nothing major happened.
Right.
The big problem to me is storming the court. That's the problem. But at the end of the day, I don't know. The statement was the statement. I don't think it said anything in general, but nonetheless.
For me, the biggest thing is we're not talking about the game.
Yep.
We're not talking about an awesome game that went to overtime. We're not talking about Cody McMahon being named player of the week in the Big Ten. We're not talking about her 35 points and her 12 rebounds. We're not talking about Caitlin Clark putting up another 45 piece. We're talking about court storming and press releases. I love talking about the actual game, the things that happened on the court, the things that were super exciting before all the mayhem broke loose. That's my biggest disappointment.
All I want is LSU playing better?
Yes.
I just want Iowa LSU in the national title game.
I want Ohio State.
Ohio State to get to the Final Four, but Cody's only a sophomore. She can get there next year. So
I want Ohio State. Ohio State versus whomever.
But women's basketball though, I mean they want Caitlin Clark against Reese.
Oh, they definitely.
They
probably want that in the Final Four.
Yeah. Well, no, they want that in the championship game. You want that in the Final Four, so that yeah. But nonetheless,
they play in the Final Four. The winner gets Ohio State.
Jody Van Winkle,
the real number one team,
said she ran toward her to flop and get clout. Like, Jody, I disagree with that. This is the biggest name in college basketball. She just sold out an entire NBA concert venue. We're not even, we're talking 18,000 fans went to go watch her. She doesn't need to take on a bull in a china shop rushing the floor so that, no one knows who I am. Even though, by the way, Buckeyes, and this is what happens. They're taking credit for, man, great atmosphere here, coming to support the Buckeyes. They're there to see Caitlin Clark, by the way. But hey, go ahead, use it on your socials. Take it, but Caitlin Clark sold out that damn arena. The
Indeed.
men don't do it. The women don't do. No offense to them. No offense to the men's team. But the bottom line is, Caitlin Clark sold out. She's not taking a charge in a post game to get clout. Let's just be real.
And the most important part is she put on a show and the Buckeyes won.
That's actually what you want in that situation.
You want her to put on a show because that's what you came to see, but you want your team to win. And then that puts everybody on notice to say, hey, wait, there's other good women basketball players besides her. We have one on our team. Never knew because we never came. But guess what? I guess we should show up now. So let that catapult you into supporting the women's basketball team a little bit more.
Man. Let's see. Jody said
was a flop.
It was definitely a flop. I don't know what the purpose of the flop was, to be honest. I mean, it wasn't for clout though, but I mean, I guess if you're doing that, you do want attention. They helped her off the floor. All right, she brought upon some of this on herself, I guess, but they helped her off the floor. I thought it was a bigger story because I thought, oh my God, is she going to miss games? Like, no, she walked right up to that post game and let Ohio State have it. But kudos to Gene Smith, man. Like, he made sure to go in there and apologize right off the bat. He could be like, whatever, we got through this game. Let's just move on. But
like, whatever, dude. I'm retiring in a couple months.
Like, in fact, I'll take you to the office of the new guy, Mr. Moneybags.
He can
here.
help you.
Yeah.
I got better things to do with my time.
Yeah. All right, it's the Kinner Kev Show here on Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. Kev Nash, the association Catchup. NBA fans, talk a little bit about that. I know Obi Toppin, his name is being brought up in trade rumors. He may not last the season with the Indiana Pacers. I thought that was a great landing spot for him, but we'll talk about that. Big firing in the NBA today. We talked about that a little bit ago. Big name head coach who was just calling games, now might be calling the action from the sideline for this NBA championship contender. We'll get to all of that. Kev Nash's The Association Catch-Up when we come back.
Denise has been playing jazz for 40 years. Last concert, one of the musicians fell sick with RSV. Respiratory syncytial virus, or RSV, is a highly contagious virus that can lead to breathing problems. This time, she's choosing to help protect herself with Pfizer's RSV vaccine, Abrysvo. Abrysvo is a vaccine for the prevention of lower respiratory tract disease caused by respiratory syncytial virus, RSV, in adults 60 years of age and older. Abrysvo is not for everyone and may not protect all who receive the vaccine. Don't get Abrysvo if you've had a severe allergic reaction to its ingredients. People with a weakened immune system may have a decreased response to Abrysvo. The most common side effects are tiredness, headache, pain at the injection site, and muscle pain. Ask your pharmacist or doctor about Pfizer's RSV vaccine, Abrysvo, respiratory syncytial virus vaccine. For full prescribing information, please call 1-844-989-7284 or visit abrysvo.com. Brought to you by Pfizer.
Whether we're in your home for a new McAfee installation, a scheduled maintenance, or a repair, you can count on McAfee to do what we say we'll do when we say we'll do it. We care about the services we provide and the products we install in your home, tailor-fitting our work to your family's needs through the entire process. We stand behind what we do, and we're proud to put our name on it. Breathe easy, choose McAfee, or have a cow.
Are you curious about QC Kinetics? Let me tell you what we do.
That's Dr. Daniel Zuckerman, a medical director at QC Kinetics.
We treat people who have joint pain, and we use your body's healing properties, the things that you already have in you, in your blood, to heal your knee pain, your joint pain, your shoulder pain, your back pain. You have everything that you need in you already.
The same natural process that heals a cut on your finger also works inside your body.
And so what we do at QC Kinetics is take those healing properties, concentrate them down from your body and put them where they need to go. We are the experts in regenerative medicine. That's all we do.
And best of all, there's no surgery, no downtime, or harmful drugs.
This is the future of medicine.
And your consultation is completely free. Call QC Kinetics, 937-936-0325. That's 937-936-0325. 937-936-0325.
Folks, the Colonel here with Homestead Feed and Supply. You've asked for it, and the homesteaders, well, they went out and got it. Homestead Feed and Supply is now a full-blown Purina dealer. You heard that right. Homestead carries Purina feed products, including Fitter, Honor Show Feeds, Depth Charge. Heck, they've even got the golden ticket. Stop in to Homestead Feed and Supply, 1833 North Dayton Lakeview Road, New Carlisle, or visit the Homestead Feed and Supply Facebook page. Tell them the Colonel sent you.
Have you ever thought about having a podiatric physician examine your feet? Doctors of Podiatric Medicine set broken bones, perform wound care, and remove bunions. Common health issues that they treat include ingrown or fungal nails, corns, warts, and skin problems like athlete's foot. Foot exams are easy and can prevent many foot problems. If you can't walk, work, or enjoy sports activities without pain, what are you waiting for? To find a podiatric physician who is a member of the Ohio Foot and Ankle Medical Association, visit associationsadvanceohio.com.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-385-9302 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-385-9302. That's 800-385-9302. What do you have to lose? Call 800-385-9302. Again, 800-385-9302.
O'Reilly. Need a little help? O'Reilly Auto Parts can help. Need advice? We've got advice. No matter what you need, we have thousands of professional parts people doing their part to make sure you have it. Exceptional customer service. Just one part that makes O'Reilly stand apart. The professional parts people.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Lowe's knows pros want savings now. That's why, as an MVP's Pro Rewards member, you get volume savings on orders of $1,500 or more at the Pro Desk. And there's more. We've lowered our prices on select top products like electrical wire and drywall, so you can get the job necessities for less. Because Lowe's knows savings. Lowe's knows pros. In-store only. Exclusions, restrictions, and more terms apply. Details at lowes.com/terms. Subject to change.
Get a tax refund advance loan at Jackson Hewitt now. No refund advance offered by eligible clients. Application required. Loans by Republic Bank. Details at jacksonhewitt.com.
Liberty Mutual presents How to Be the Life of the Party.
Okay, first turn the music off. Then ask for everyone's attention. Now, tell them that you customized your home insurance with Liberty Mutual and saved hundreds. Boom! Now everyone knows you're not just a pretty face. You have some brains inside that face that know how to save hundreds on home insurance. Woo!
Only pay for what you need at libertymutual.com. Based on recent survey of new customers who switched and saved. Underwritten by Liberty Mutual Insurance Company and affiliates. Excludes Massachusetts.
Liberty, 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 liberty.
I always wanted to learn Spanish, but I never thought I'd have the time. Then I discovered Babbel.
Babbel's lessons are fun. They only take like 10 or 15 minutes, and in 3 weeks, presto, you're starting to speak another language, like magic.
I love that Babbel's lessons aren't just robots talking. They're voiced by native speakers, so you get the pronunciation just right.
If you want to learn a language, there's no faster, easier, better way than
Babbel.
Babbel.
Babbel. Go to Babbel.com and start learning a new language today. That's BABBEL.com.
Time.
Plenty of time. It's the Kinner and Kev Show here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Ohio State basketball tonight, 7 o'clock, the tip-off. They are at Nebraska, by the way. That's a 7 o'clock tip-off. 6:15 coverage begins right here on 1410 ESPN Radio. Dayton in action tonight as well.
UD.
So, yeah, they got LaSalle. Woofa. But that's a dangerous game.
Because Saturday.
But they've lost quite a few games there over the years. Like, Anthony Grant has not mastered it's at LaSalle that's been the problem. But that's always tough. You come off an emotional win like that, so you crack the top 25.
Mm-hmm.
You move up the top 25 because you had that emotional win against Archie Miller's old team at the arena, just to remind him of, hey, I'm the captain of the ship now, right? That type of thing. Okay, boo, as you were doing. So how do you go in just one of the worst college basketball arenas, gyms? Let's just call it a gym. It's not an arena, it's a gym. To go to one of the worst gyms in college basketball. You're a top 25 team. Okay, you have aspirations of getting to the Sweet 16, the Elite 8, the Final Four, and we got to play at LaSalle. And we are number 16. We just moved up. How do you match that same intensity you did on Saturday at home in front of 13,000 people, in front of maybe 1,000 if you're like maybe 3,000 or 4,000 because the UD fans will show up or something. But that place is dingy. If a look had a smell, there's just I've never even been there, and I smell the horrible looking gym, if you will. But
it's in Philly, right?
Yeah. So, but no, this team just feels different. They're doing a lot of the stuff that the 2020 team was doing. But more times than not, Anthony Grant teams are always not the most, they always don't match that intensity in tough environments like this. And when I say tough, it's not tough, but it's a bad environment. And that could be tough, if you will. Deron Holmes tonight, currently Matt Schwade covers the Flyers, currently tied with Brooks Hall. So Deron Holmes has 1,404 points on the all-time scoring list. He could also pass Deshaun Pierre tonight with the 20-point effort.
Let's do it.
So we'll see. He's been just, it don't matter who they play. He's just been a freaking tank all year as far as that's concerned. So there you go. All right. Justin Smith, is this live still? Yes, it's live.
Do it live.
We're right here. It is 4:53. Do I need a newspaper to hold the date up? I met Justin Smith. He's a big Steeler fan.
Hey, black and yellow.
He came out to Frickers and hung out with us on Sunday. He brought a Buckeye helmet. And he had a pen. He wanted buyers to sign it, but one of these times I'm just going to grab the pen and sign something real quick. Oh, I thought you were handing it to me. My bad. Yeah, the Sunday morning show at Frickers.
What are you going to write on it? 1410 week AM, home of the Buckeyes.
Yeah. No, we've told you the story before. There was this guy, he just kept coming out and having buyers sign a bunch of stuff, which KB is totally fine with signing stuff. But like when the guy started like bringing out more stuff each week, then we get to find out that this dude like goes to that little flea market over here, like heading towards Cincinnati, and he has a big so he sells like sports, memorabilia and stuff. And but the guy had the nerve one week to show up, and he had like I don't know if it's his daughter, I don't know if it's his little niece, but she 7, 8 years old. Hey, Mr. Byers, you mind signing this? She's a big fan. And I looked at KB, and this was a few years ago, and this is before. Now I could joke with him, and it's totally fine. But this was probably the first time I ever looked at him and say, KB, I know you're a big deal, but I promise you that girl has no freaking clue who you are. She is not a fan. And so I made a sign now at Frickers that when you go out there, I haven't had to use it this year because that guy hasn't come out, but the sign basically said, hey, buyers will sign one item, per show. But Kinner will sign as much stuff as you want. So I've yet to sign anything. One day.
One day.
I mean, here's sign language. I mean, I didn't do it. Ron said, I met Kev yesterday. Yeah, Ron, you don't follow directions, my dude.
I knew that was coming.
Luckily, Ron, I'm close enough with Ron through the show that I could say that. But yes, but you did short him $25 in Frickers box. So.
Oops. Oops.
Ron, I'll get you next time, but let us know when you're on your way. Anyways, but nonetheless, what did he say? Justin Smith said, you can sign my Antonio Brown autographed helmet since it's virtually worthless now.
AB. He's still a Hall of Famer.
He's something.
He's out of his mind, but he's still going to Hall of Fame.
You see, he wanted to do that CTE podcast with what's his name from the Raiders?
Yeah, I saw that, man.
Yeah.
Yikes.
But anyways, let's talk NBA. But if we're going to talk some NBA, of course, I got to, make sure we got this. Where's that? Oh, yeah. There you go. All right. Every Wednesday, but we're off tomorrow. I got our Reds Media Day luncheon tomorrow. So I won't be back in time. Then I'm heading to Cleveland to travel with Wright State because they got a game on Thursday night. We'll be doing the show on Thursday live, but I'll be doing it remote, of course. But so we're off tomorrow. So every Wednesday we do the association catch-up. We're doing it a day early because we're off tomorrow. Kev Nash's association catch-up. Kev Nash, let's go through the association. What we got?
All right. Yesterday was the 18th anniversary of Kobe Bryant's historic 81-point game. Joel Embiid dropped 70 and grabbed 18 rebounds.
Yeah, look, that's impressive for a big. How many of those were threes?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't check the box.
I mean, it doesn't matter. 70.
Yeah.
And look, today's NBA, a lot of points get put up. So, by the way, it's impressive. I don't care what. A lot of people want to walk it down. But, when you put up those big scoring performances back in the day in the 90s and early 2000s when teams were a good offensive team was averaging in the mid 90s. I mean, those Sacramento Kings teams, I went and looked. Those Sacramento Kings teams that were dubbed the elite offensive teams, those Shaq Kobe teams, the Kings that Peja Stojakovic and Bobby Jackson, those guys, and Vlade, love those Kings teams. Arco Arena, I hate it. I was a big Laker fan during that stretch. I was like, man, I hated when they had to go play there, right? But those high-powered offensive teams were about 93, 94 points per game. That's bad offense in today's NBA.
Yeah.
So you drop 70 with teams who are averaging well over 100-plus points a game. By the way, the rest of the team still has to put up 50 to still get to the average. That's a heck of a performance. I always am fascinated. A lot of times it's getting hot from three that's the key to that.
Indeed. I was still looking for the box score.
No, you're good. My bad.
All right, number 2, Tristan Thompson doing Tristan Thompson things. He is suspended for 25 games for violating the NBA's anti-drug program.
Yeah, like I said earlier, he got tired of Chloe getting all the positive tests, so he decided to jump in on the fun, except he gets a 25. How well was he playing? By the way,
wasn't.
So it's not a big deal, but it's a name.
Yeah.
From the championship, game or team with LeBron years and years ago. Is what is they're rolling.
Yeah.
They're rolling. So they don't need that mojo. They don't need that distraction. They don't need that type of stuff, especially from a guy that is supposed to be there to provide a veteran experience presence because you have Mobley and some of these young guys that are battling injuries. You need some of those older, experienced veteran players. So it's unfortunate when you're not producing, but your role is to be that veteran guy. And you still are a bad robot. I don't know. That's not a good thing for the Cavs, but I don't think it's going to alter anything as far as we sit right now.
More bad news about the Cavs. Emoni Bates suspended 2 games without pay for going into the stands following his G League game.
Emoni Bates has a temper? By the way, for anyone on the Justin Kinner Show Facebook page listening around town,
1-3 for Joel Embiid, by the way.
Then I'm very impressed. How many free throws?
21 of 23.
That's a hell of a game, Kevin. 1-3 and you put up 70 points. No, that's impressive. And I'm not saying it wouldn't have been had he went off like for 12 threes or something, but a lot of times on those big scoring nights, it's just dudes who are just getting hot from three. Yeah. And they'll have like a 60-point game, but 30 of it came from behind the 3-point line because they knocked down 10. Scoring 30 is tough to do, right? But anyways, that's really cool.
And the biggest part about it is they needed it. They only won by 10. Like it was a tight game with the Spurs the whole way through.
Yeah.
It wasn't like Karl Anthony Towns, he scored like 60 last night, but they lost. So they needed this 70 points and they got the dub, which is more important.
Real quick, the Emoni Bates thing.
Yeah.
What was the team he played for in high school, the prep team? He hopped around a little bit.
Yeah.
So he was originally had committed to play at Michigan State for Izzo. And, of course, when you see Izzo on the sideline, he's one of those old school coaches that still coaches like I'm not saying he's psychotic like Bobby Knight and some of the others, but he uses a lot of those same intense approaches that coaches don't use nowadays. So when they zoom in and there's the clip one time of him poking the forehead of the player and, you can't do that in today's game and all this stuff. I watched Emoni Bates. I called the game for Emoni Bates for the Flying to the Hoop showcase that they did. It wasn't the Flying to the Hoop. What do they call that?
The one they did in like March.
I don't think they did that this year or last year. I don't know if they did it last year. Either way, Top Gun Showcase is what it was.
Yes.
So
correct.
It was a great atmosphere. A lot of people showed up. I mean, these were just like the prep teams that had showed up. But the dude had a temper. They had to stop the game early, to walk him off to the side. He would be by himself over there just screaming his head off, just a freaking lunatic, man. And I was like, that's going to follow. He had that problem in college everywhere that he went, and that's unfortunate that we're hearing that because, man, the kid could play, and he's been balling out. It's one of those things, too, where I think he was a steal. You don't say steal of the draft in the NBA too often. where they got him, he could end up being a steal, especially if he turns into something and they lose Donovan Mitchell soon. But I think the problem is he's a head case, man. That's something you always got to be worried about.
Got to get that temper in check. Good news about the Cavs. They are on an 8-game winning streak with a road win on Monday versus the Magic. They are 1.5 games ahead of the Knicks for the 4 seed in the East.
Just stay out of that play-in tournament. That's all that matters. Did they have to play in that last year?
No, they were the 4 seed and lost to the Knicks in the first round. Yep.
But they were playing bad basketball heading into the playoffs, so it's like it didn't feel like it was a number 4 team. They just got to keep this going. I don't think they're as good as what they're playing now, but they're definitely not as bad as what they were playing before this hot stretch. I think they're somewhere in the middle, and they're not even 100% healthy right now. I think that's what's wild. And you have to start asking yourself, addition by subtraction, is there too many cooks in the kitchen at times? But they're definitely riding the momentum wave as we sit here right now.
Indeed. 2 more for you. Spurs staff has been advised never to call Big Vic after 9:30 p.m. That is when he reads for an hour and goes to sleep.
Right. After what time?
9:30.
What would they be calling him for anyways?
Hey, man, get in here. Lift some weights.
I mean, yeah, I read that too. And I'm like, okay, cool. And by the way, that seems early, but I'm jealous of that. Kev, but you always say too, you don't. I'm one of those, my phone is right next to me when I sleep. And I wake up, I'm on my phone, I'm distracted, I'm yelling at people. Oh, yeah, with the Bengals, blah, 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 2 a.m, argue with people. You put your phone on the other side of the room, right?
I do. When I'm watching a movie, I plug it in on the other side of the room. When I go to bed, it's on the other side of the room. Now, I got it trusty next to me when the games are on and stuff like that, having a million different conversations. But when the movie's on or a good show that I'm watching, which I am watching the new season of True Detective, season 4, absolutely awesome. It's on HBO. Should check it out. Or when I'm watching a movie or when I'm going to bed, I do not want my phone near me. Can't say the same, can you?
No, not even a little bit.
Can't relate. Last one. The Pacers have made Buddy Hield and Obi Toppin available for trade.
Yeah, I figured that was coming, especially. I mean, look, the bottom line is those are 2 talented enough pieces that can make a difference on championship contending teams. And to be honest, if they don't want to send them to a championship contending team because they just need to move on from them, the Pacers, I still think. Do you think they have another move in them, like a significant move? Getting Pascal Siakam was huge. With having Halliburton and just being obviously what's the other guy that they have, the post player that's really good that they just signed. Doesn't matter. The Pacers have a ton of depth. They have talent, but I still think they're just missing something, especially with how good the Bucks are, especially with how good the Celtics are. So they need to just get I think they're a piece away, but yeah, I think Hield and Toppin are going to be a part of that movement. We'll see what ends up happening.
Yeah, I mean, especially with Obi, like you can get another player that plays Obi's position that's a tad bit tougher. He's not available for trade, but like a Bobby Portis, will give you exactly what Obi's giving you points and rebounds wise, but he adds an extra layer of toughness because that's what they're really lacking on that team. I mean, they score the most points in the NBA, but they're also 3rd in the NBA of points given up. So like it's Olay defense that they're playing out there with the Pacers right now. So they need somebody to try to stop anybody. So a piece like a Obi and or a Buddy Hield, you're able to get somebody else out there. Plus they're good players. So if you need offensive punch, you need a 3-point shooter, you can dial up Buddy Hield. You need somebody to come off the bench and give you that energy play, you can get Obi Toppin. So like him going to another team isn't the end of the world.
All right. Kev Nash is the Association Catchup.
Yeah.
All right. We'll be right back. It's the Kinner Kev Show, Dayton's ESPN Radio, 1410 Wing AM. Tax season is here, and I'm sure you're thinking about who is going to do my taxes. Try my friends at Arrowhead Tax Service in New Carlisle. Call Michael and Justin today at 937-543-5770. They're ready to serve you at 113 West Jefferson Street in New Carlisle. Arrowhead Tax Service gives back to the community through athletics and nonprofits, and all new clients save 10% off. Online at arrowheadtaxservice.com, where their target is your satisfaction. Hungry for a great time? Maybe some great food? Then come on down to your neighborhood Submarine House. Try our oven-toasted deli subs, our mouth-watering salads, pizzas, appetizers, and more. And wash them down with a unique selection of craft beers while watching the big game on our big screens. With locations around Dayton, in Columbus, and our newest sports bar in Kettering, you're never far from a Submarine House. Subs, sports, spirits. Submarine House.
Get a tax refund advance loan at Jackson Hewitt now. No refund advance offered by eligible clients. Application required. Loans by Republic Bank. Details at jacksonhewitt.com.
ESPN 1410 Wing AM weather.
Rain and fog in the forecast for tonight, an overnight low of 40. Rain, patchy fog, 51 Wednesday. Thursday, more rain and fog and 56. I'm Rick Schrepp for 1410 ESPN Radio.
Questions about youth or high school sports? Positive Coaching Alliance can help.